Welcome to the WINN Weekender, a comprehensive recap of the major story making the news this past week. This week on the WINN Weekender, the reparations debate. We hear arguments for and against reparations. We'll also hear segments of speeches from Sir Hilary Beckles, chairperson of the Reparations Committee of CARICOM, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, P.J. Patterson, and an opponent of reparations, David Edgecombe. All this and more on this edition of the WINN Weekender.
How much attention have we been paying to the reparations efforts being undertaken on behalf of the Caribbean community, CARICOM? Well, it is time to play catch-up. The CARICOM Commission on Reparations shone the spotlight on the subject in Antigua last month, October 12. Among speakers there was former Jamaican Prime Minister P.J. Patterson, who insisted that he had a misguided claim to debunk.
The question has been asked, why do we make a claim for the persons stolen from Africa by the European colonizers and none from Africa? Such a question rests on a false premise that Africans in Africa were responsible, or at least equally responsible, for the historic slave trade. Supporters of that line of thinking assert that the transatlantic slave trade and slavery were extensions of an already existing system of slavery that was operated by Africans. And so these critics say the Africans must bear a moral responsibility for the transatlantic trade in human and African enslavement because they had set up a system that was only extended by Europeans.
Long-standing reparations activist Barbadian David Commission made the proposition that national parliaments be afforded the opportunity to get in on the Reparations Act.
One of the things we need to do is to enact in our national parliaments resolutions confirming as a part of our national law that slavery was a crime against humanity and acknowledging the legal requirement to make reparation. It is important that this become part of the national law of all CARICOM nations, because one of the sources of international law is principles of law recognized by national states. So if we are going to be making a case for reparations, one of the building blocks of that case is national laws confirming the legal legitimacy of the case. And if that is going to happen, it means you're going to have parliamentary debates. And you don't want the political opposition on the outside sniping. So it would make sense to bring them fully into the process by giving them representation on the national committees or task force.
There was a reality check made by Antiguan Prime Minister Gaston Brown.
We depict us as a rampant civilization or a sun, sea and sand society. Some have even described our workers as lazy and our work ethic as lethargic. This has occurred, of course, because we are caught in the horns of a dilemma. On the one hand, because of our dependence on tourism, we ourselves promote the notion of carefree leisure and the idea of a don't worry, be happy culture. That is the idea that makes many of our countries appealing to tourists seeking a Caribbean paradise. Palm trees, bright sunshine, cooling breezes, and a good glass, as they say, of rum punch. But while that is part of our presentation of ourselves, and indeed, it is a valid part of what we are, it is not even a significant part of our entire story or of who we are. Much more relevant is what generations of people have worked to accomplish in this region on the platform of deprivation that was inherited in slavery's abolition and the end of indentured servitude. With nothing more than the strength of our will, the talents of our wits, our people have made something of our countries and of ourselves. It was our people that built secondary schools and universities. It was our people that constructed roads, bridges, seaports, and airports. It was our people that established hospitals, improved medical care, and created social welfare programs. No other region in the world with such very small populations and limited resources such as ours has achieved nearly so much. Despite being robbed of our material well-being for centuries, the Caribbean has acted as a crucible of excellence.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is WINN FM.
WINN FM's mission is to contribute meaningfully to the information, awareness, and the development of our nation and the region through the building of educated and informed communities. WINN FM faces the issues squarely, without shying away from controversy, while striving continuously to provide balanced, responsible reporting.
Better music, better talk, better radio. 98.9 WINN FM.
Welcome back to the WINN Weekender. We continue the debate on reparations.
Professor Hilary Beckles heads the CARICOM Reparations Commission and is one of the most vocal proponents pressing for reparatory justice.
And today, as you all know, is the 12th of October. It was the 12th of October that Christopher Columbus ventured into our societies. 12th of October, and here we are again. We have been resisting and struggling against the legacy that his intervention has unleashed in our societies ever since. Today is therefore a very special day, because we have turned that ship around. This is a gathering of experts, and we have deemed it so because we are building bridges. For many years, decades, the Rastafari community have stood and laid the foundation for this struggle.
My organization name, Rastafari Brethren Repatriation Association. Because they don't want us to go back to Africa or deal with Africa, they sabotage the Rastafari movements, not knowing that reparation is not for Rasta, it is for all black people.
They took us away from Africa. Us away from Africa.
When it was painful, harmful, derogatory to stand in support for reparatory justice, the Rastafari carried the baton, and we are grateful to them because we are standing on their shoulders. But it's a conversation that seeks to spread the dialogue between all of us who are part of Caribbean civilization, our political leaders, our grassroots activists, our doctors, our theologians, our priests, our musicians, our journalists, our farmers, all of the knowledge groups in our society. We are here for a conversation about reparatory justice for our people.
The reparations train does have its critics. Jenny Fenton, a former newspaper owner and editor, and David Edgecombe, playwright and communication professor at the University of the Virgin Islands, take issue with the address which Professor Beckles presented at Britain's House of Commons on July 16 on behalf of the CARICOM Reparations Committee. They argue that while the Caribbean has suffered, it is impossible to quantify that suffering, and so any reparations would be arbitrary and, quote, more accurately termed charity. We heard firsthand from David Edgecombe. He does express strong anti-reparation views.
Because how do you determine who did what to whom, when, and how do you make the payments? There's nothing close to some degree of, certainty with which you do it. You'd have to find the reasons why you pay, who you pay to, all of that. And because I think it would be such a difficult thing to do, that it would be more, as I put it to J.D. Fenton, my co-author, and I, an act of charity rather than, something that you can back.
But the concerns that you have are some of the things that they're trying to thrash out in terms of looking at the whole process, in terms of looking at how they move forward, how eventually they would deal with all of these things. So maybe you ought to give them a chance to work out these things.
We must look at what is the possibility of us collecting. We could spend a long time looking at that, but it seems pretty clear to me that I nor our children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren will ever see 1 penny of reparations money. And so the question is, if this is going to be so, if we can recognize that this is true, how much time should we really spend on this while there are so many other things that we can do that would be more beneficial to the Caribbean?
But while you're taking a pessimistic approach to this matter, those directly involved seem pretty optimistic.
Well, they do. They do. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to even go out there and say, well, okay, we should pursue this. We should go over here. And our chances are so good. I certainly don't see the chances as being good. And I don't see how you can make the case. But even more so, if you are successful, then what do? You get this money, then really what do you do? I guess that's one of the things that they will work out. But also, if you're not successful, and I'm saying that you aren't going to be, you can't be successful, and then what happens? When the British government says no, or maybe they don't say no, but they certainly show you no. So that 50 years down the line, you're still there saying, well, okay, I need to get my reparations,
But it's not only the British government, it's a number of European countries, including France.
Not in the context of any of the things that I have seen. The ones that I have seen, somebody sent me a copy of the 10-point reparation plan, and certainly the address that Sir Hilary Beckles made to Parliament was to Parliament. It had to do with that. But even if
it was to the British Parliament, but they have decided that they want to negotiate with the European countries who were involved in the slave trade. So it's not only Britain.
Fine. The more the merrier. And I'm saying that it's going to be, whether it is Britain singularly or it is a set of European islands who had kept slaves, that it's going to be a very, very difficult case to make. And the likelihood of prevailing is very small.
So you think the initiative is doomed to failure?
Pretty much, yes, pretty much.
Why?
For the reasons that I'm giving you. We can look at some of the evidence that we have. One of the things, and this has been on the cards for a little while, is that you should apologize. And the British government has pretty much said, no, we are not going to apologize. The question again of payment, you should pay us. How are we going to go forward and say, well, what are you paying us for? And who should be paid? And who should be paid what? What is the evidence that we can assemble to say that you must do this?
But Britain didn't exactly say they won't apologize. The former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, did issue some sort of an apology, but it fell short of a proper apology.
Well, they offered a statement of regret, and they have agreed to offer a statement of regret. And our side is saying, well, no, a statement of regret is not enough. You must give us a full apology. And what I gather is that if there's an apology, then that is a sort of admission of culpability. And that is, we can dance around this issue. Do we apologize or don't we apologize?
This has been the WINN Weekender. On behalf of the WINN TV News team, I'm Andre Huey. Thank you for watching.